I figured I should probably make a video introducing myself. Uh, I don't know. I'm always bad with this sort of thing in interviews. Like, tell me about yourself. I'm alive, but you already knew that. What do you I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. Um, you know, yeah, yeah. I have that kind of issue with like I don't know, maybe lack of self confidence around other people. Uh, yeah, I have confidence in other places, but around people, even when I probably am the person who knows the best and should be the most confident, mm-mm. Somebody says do something stupid, I'll probably go along with that. That has definitely gotten me into trouble. Oh man. Um, I don't know that relates directly to that, but yeah, no, about a year ago, the FBI came to my house because a former friend of something like 15 years or so, uh, he called the FBI, told them that I was, what did he tell them? That I was hacking university computers or something. Totally made up charge. And before they came and talked to me, the FBI, they knew it was nonsense, but they had to they had to come talk to me as part to wrap up the investigation as part of it. Yeah. So that was fun. Man. Yeah, I just get a call one morning. Dude's like, "Yeah, I'm from the FBI. I just need to talk to you. Should I meet you at your house?" And then he gave me my address, or somewhere else. I'm like, "Well, I mean, whether you're really the FBI or not, you know my address, so might as well just come talk here." So, yeah, I had coffee and donuts waiting, sitting on the front patio. Rolls up, nice easy chat, because pretty much, you pretty much knew there was nothing to this, but yeah, yeah, gave me his card. He told me, "Don't hack university computers." I was like, that's not a problem. I don't even know how to do that, and I have no motive to do that. Why would I want to do that? There's nothing on that I would want. Oh, man. But the ultimate issue with this guy, the former friend, right? Oh man, definitely a narcissist. Definitely, definitely a narcissist. Um, he, whew, yeah, I don't want to talk too much shit on him, but he's got psych issues. It had come to a point where we were working together, which is probably a bad thing. Um, damn, yeah, yeah. He's one of those guys like he always has to win an argument. Doesn't really matter how wrong he is or how inappropriate it is for him to be talking about this subject in the current wherever we're at. By the way, I'm holding a 3D printed human jaw. Just and there's where is it? Homo erectus, Turkana boy, printed out in three pieces. The white part I printed like 3 years ago, and it was the last thing that my first 3D printer made. It died making that. And then the rest of it I printed just a few days ago. That's why it's different colors. I kind of like the copper better. Anyway, yeah. So this coworker, Yeah, no, he would argue with anybody. I really think he had a problem with women, and our boss was a woman. He would argue with her very loudly, like to the point that it's closed in her office. You could clearly hear what he was saying from anywhere. And his arguments were terrible. Terrible arguments for why he should be able to do whatever he wanted to do. Just terrible. Yeah, he was going to school to get a certification for the job that we were that he wanted at at this facility, and he was struggling with the coursework, and he would pretty much every night he would be harassing me to do his work for him. And finally, I said, "Dude, I'm eating dinner with my kid. Fuck off." And I pretty much just never talked to him again. I just ghosted him, um, which he did not like. As narcissists, they have a problem with that. They don't like that. And the fact that we worked together, so we would run into each other pretty frequently. And I don't think anybody had ever actually done this to him before successfully. I never talked to him again after that point. Didn't matter. Never talked to him again. Even though we continued working together for something like 4 months or so before he left. And I still haven't. It's been a couple of years at this point. He did after the FBI thing. He, yeah, he was just trying to get my attention with that. I'm pretty sure. Because about a year had passed at that point, roughly, and nothing had worked, and he doesn't like that. And he had done similar things with women before, like women that he had dated. He would, if they ghosted him, he would go after them very aggressively, to the point until he just wore them down, and they would at least stay like Facebook friends or something. Like, no, dude, fuck you. I don't want you in my life. I've seen how you treat people, and you're treating me this way now. No. Yeah. So to get my attention, and a few things have happened since then. To get my attention, I think, I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what the hell is happening in his brain, but this is what it looks like to me. He did this FBI thing just to get my attention. And then on an internet forum, I mentioned in a public internet forum, I mentioned that this situation in a vague way. I didn't name any names, nothing like that. Like, I'm not naming anybody here. Yeah, I mentioned it, and he came onto the forum and he outed himself. He's like, "Yeah, this is I did that, and this is why I did that," and blah blah. Blah. And he totally felt righteous in this situation, like that he was doing the right thing, that he was putting me in my place for having ghosted him, and I totally deserved everything that. And I had known him for well over a decade. Uh, and having some boundary issues, he would be prone to telling me a little bit too much about his romantic relationships. So I knew that this sort of behavior was normal for him, that this is how he treated people. Um, Man, yeah, no. So he outed himself publicly. That wasn't me. I didn't out him. He did it. He came on and you know, with his profile, his name, his face. Yeah, I did this, and this is why. And it's just batshit arguments. It's like, this is kind of scary. And a little bit later on, he was going through my publicly accessible files on my Google Drive and like commenting on them. And he was like, right, like my files, my Google Drive. He's leaving comments, trying to get my attention, and saying shit like trying to provoke me into a discussion, into a conversation with him. Seeking narcissistic supply. Effective. That's yeah. So I'm not playing that game. I just I did actually respond to that with one comment. I don't know. I don't know if that was the right call or not, but that's the only thing I said to him at all in about 2 years. Um, and so I told him, you know you're stalking me, and I have contacted the authorities informing you that you are stalking me. And then I made all of those files private, everything on my Google Drive private so that nobody could access it. This posed a few problems for work because some of my files I actually was sharing with people, but whatever. We're just making new ones and share those new links. No big deal. And then just a few weeks ago, so yeah, this was all about a year ago. I think the FBI thing was last March, something like that. So a little over a year ago on that. And the Google Drive thing was maybe 8-9 months ago, something like that. So I was, I don't know, a few weeks ago, something like that. Pretty close to 2 weeks ago. I got a notification that somebody was trying to access one of these files, like a really strange file that I know only he would even know about. Especially since it's now private. Why would he know about what? Like, why would anybody know about this file? So I got this request for access. And it's from some random, like, it's not an account in his name. It's not an account in anybody's name. It's just some account on Google. So I sent an email to this account asking, okay, who are you? How do you know about this file? And what do you want with it? And I never got a response. And then, and just a few days ago, I got a notification from academia.edu, which I never actually use. Whatever. I don't. But they spam me with their stupid bullshit. Saying, oh, we found an article with your name in it. Like, probably has nothing to do with me. But, whatever. There's been a few times where I know it was me. But, yeah. This. A few days ago. Academia.edu gave me a notification that this dude posted something, uploaded something that referenced me. Like, what the fuck? The fact that it's like so close in time to this other weird request for access to some file that had to do with some of my ideas in linguistics. Kind of suspicious. Kind of suspicious. So I, re- I really don't think he's gone. Um, I wish he were gone. I don't wish anything bad on him, but he needs to go the fuck away. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe a little more about my past in general instead of like some weird recent trauma from some crazy stalker dude. Why do I have a stalker dude? Anyway, yeah. So I studied linguistics at the University of Arizona. Um, my views on language are heretical. I speak to a sad level of proficiency. 5-year-old child or worse. I speak something like, I don't even know, a dozen languages. Part of the reason that I don't really know is because languages like Swedish and Danish and Norwegian are basically the same to me. So does that count as one, or does it count as three? Ukrainian and Russian is, I have a hard time telling them apart. So does that count as one, or does that count as two? I can understand them about equally well to a non-trivial degree. Like I can sort of follow along what's happening in ordinary conversation. I can't speak. I can't say shit in Russian, but I can. You know, that isn't one that I claim that I know. Um, or the various versions of Mandarin Chinese. Like I very much prefer like southern varieties, not like Cantonese, but kind of more southerly varieties of Mandarin. Um, I'm not a fan of Beijing Hua, but I kind of follow it. It's weird and it sounds like you need to take the potato out of your mouth, but you know. So does that count as one language or as more than one? It totally depends who you ask. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I speak more than one language to a useful degree. I'm really only fluent in English. I get that question. What do you? How many languages are you fluent in? English. That's really it. My reading Spanish or French is pretty close to fluent. Like I'm pretty good at reading those languages. Uh, Probably in no small part due to the fact that English written English is like, depending on the register you're using, is something like between 60 and 80% French. It definitely helps. It definitely makes reading French quite a bit easier. But still, it's not. Yeah. Some Native American languages. I can kind of get by in Hawaiian. A few things like this. For the most part, I taught these to myself. A few things I studied in college, like Don Adam and Mandarin Chinese. But Arabic, Hebrew, Aramaic, these Swedish, Swahili, Hawaiian, you know, a whole bunch of them, Yucateco, a whole bunch of them. I worked on my own, and I did some Spanish in college, but I think it actually made me worse than what I was coming in. It didn't clearly improve my Spanish. It probably improved it a little bit, but not to a point where I can definitely be like, oh yeah, I learned this in college. Yeah. So things like Portuguese and Catalan, like I can pretty well get by in Portuguese because it really just looks like drunken Spanish. And, I don't mean that in an offensive way at all. Like, it's just slurred. So it's like, it's not en la casa, it's na casa. Yeah, that's drunken slurred Spanish. I'm, sorry, but it is. Um, yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with my bachelor's program. I came into to the University of Arizona with an associate's in mathematics, uh, which means basically like where's the where's the book? That's as far as I got was differential equations. Uh, but that's far more than I rarely ever needed, so it's fine. I've kind of taught myself a little bit beyond that point, but nothing consistent, and yeah, I don't really care beyond that point. It's it's more than enough for honestly like I've mostly forgotten wherever that book is. I can't point to it. Yeah, there it is. I've mostly forgotten how all that crap works. Um, yeah, so I came in as a math major. That was a bad decision. That was a bad decision. I did not want to pursue math. Math with a what computer science minor. Yeah. Oh. In high school, I taught myself how to program, and I think because of the age it was and the fact that I did it myself, I developed a really specific and strong philosophy about how this shit works that made it basically impossible for anybody to come along afterwards and be like, "No, this is a better way to do this." So I have some problems with accepting the way things are done. And that's totally my fault. That's me. It's I understand that, but I'm still gonna fight you and be like, no, no, my way is better because it's just how my brain like that's when my brain developed. That's when that cemented. I did it myself. I figured out certain ways of doing stuff. There was nobody around helping me. I'm just like, whatever, fuck it. I'm doing it this way. And honestly, like a lot of the stuff that I do, uh, as I went into I because I did take a lot of programming classes. So as I went into higher level programming classes, they would, you know, they'd be like, okay, now we're going to introduce this way of doing stuff, and I'd be like, I've always done that. How else would you do this? Like properly commenting on what your code is doing. Kind of a standard, ordinary way of doing it for a C programmer is pretty much I taught myself that because if you don't do that, then you get lost. And I was, by what, my junior year in high school, I was writing uh, TI-86 calculator. Yeah, I was writing video games on a TI-86 calculator that filled the entire memory space. There's a lot of there's a lot of lines of code in that. And yeah, that's pretty much where like moving over to a computer. I'm like, okay, okay, I need to keep stuff straight. Like, you can comment on a TI-86 in TI Basic, 82, 83, all those had all those. You can comment in there, but it takes up screen space. The screen's small, so there's not a lot of room for commenting. So I developed kind of an abbreviated form of okay, this is what this does, this is what this does, this is what structuring it, and commenting it, and but because I taught myself to program in BASIC, I really like GoTo, And honestly, I feel like anybody who's opposed to GoTo is an idiot because, yeah, I get maintainability and, you know, moving between, you know, this code isn't going to be maintained by me forever. Somebody else is going to come along and maintain it. Yeah, I get that. I get that argument. But if you're using it wisely, that's never going to be an issue. So you have to be using it wrong. You have to be failing to teach people how to use it for this to be a problem, in my opinion. Whatever. Yeah, I'm a little bit. It's one of the things I don't like about programming and things like Python and everything modern. God damn it, Java. Java's trash. Java's trash. Just gonna say that. And that's not an opinion. That's a fact. So fuck you if you like Java. Java's trash. Um, yeah. So I had in high school, I developed a pretty solid familiarity with programming. Um, I I came into 4 year college with an associate's degree in mathematics, and there was kind of a strong emphasis on physics in that. Uh, but I didn't want to continue that any further because I knew that I didn't get along with programmers. I just knew that, and I had seen enough. I had done enough. I had done a few of my own projects that I knew that this is not programming is not something that I want to do as a career. There's there's just too much there that mm-mm, mm-mm. And honestly, I feel like any programmer seeing this, like, you're gonna have a different experience than me. You're gonna have different views about programming than I do, but you're probably gonna get that. You're gonna be like, yeah, no, it's rough. There's there's definite difficulties with that as a career. And I knew this. I knew this by the time I was coming into a 4 year university out of a community college. And there was no time off. I was, just graduate high school, go into community college, 2 years there, go into, it's not like I sat around and was working for 5 years and like developed some worldly experience. This is just, you know, because I was working in IT and doing things like I was enough in the culture uh, that I just figured out no, this isn't for me. So I'd always had, well, at least back into middle school, fifth, sixth grade, something like that. Um, Kind of my hobbies were uh, like engineering sorts of things, and which I think led into like the programming and the IT and like the mathematics, like that all kind of grew from that. Um, and and languages. I didn't I didn't really have a sense of what in the linguistics was. I still kind of, but I was kind of interested in languages. I don't know why exactly. I just found them interesting. Um, and by the time I was out of community college, I had on my computer. This would have been 2002, 2003. So a hard drive was like 2 gigabytes, 4 gigabytes, something in that ballpark. Because I had a computer a few years old, so yeah, relatively small storage space. And the internet was not what it is today. It was a lot harder to find stuff. I had a collection of documents in something like 6,000 languages, private, like my private collection, and I could basically read some of almost all of it. So not a deep knowledge of any one language, but a very, very broad knowledge of all of them. So I come into the university Ling department, Ling program. Well, after one semester of being an idiot and not changing my major and going along with the math bullshit that I knew I didn't want to do. God, what classes did I take? I took something on Mayan archaeology. I think Introduction to the Oddum. Did I have Chinese yet? I don't think I had Chinese yet. Maybe Spanish. Yeah, there was a Spanish class. And then some math classes and a programming class. The programming class I just stopped going to. I think I slept through the final. I just didn't give a fuck. I did the same thing with the math class. It was linear algebra, and like so much of it I had already seen before. I'm just like, fuck this, like. Fuck this shit. One, I know I don't want to do it. Two, I've seen most of this before, so I don't care. I just don't care. I I was put on academic probation for that semester. After that semester, because I did so bad in so many classes. Yeah, no, but I aced all of them. I did great in that class. And yes, no, I was that. Yes, that absolutely was in my first semester because I remember the instructor being dismissive of me early on in the class because almost everybody else in the class was a linguistics or some social sciences major. And I was a math major. And when she found out about that, she just kind of like, oh, yeah, you're going to drop. There's no way. I did the best. Pretty sure I did the best. Oh, because like any casual conversation with any of the other students, they'd be like, oh my god, I don't get any of this. And I'd just be like, how? It's easy. What? What do you mean you don't get it? Yeah, like my big thing, like I would forget words. But I understood the syntax. And like all of the little function words, great with that. It would just be things like, like the word for a chili pepper is ko'okol, and the word for circle is si'ikol. And that would mess me up. And I think in large part because of the English letter C, where it can be k or s. So like in my head, like those two sounds, they should be clearly different from each other, but yeah. So ko'okol and si'ikol, I got those ones mixed up. So there you go. I would be talking about a circle, but I would actually say chili pepper, and it would make no sense. And I don't think the instructor ever figured out why I was making that mistake, so she just thought I was an idiot. Also, I'm the math major. What do I know? There's no reason I should do well in this class. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, and then the next semester I started taking Chinese, and I wasn't great at it, because, again, I didn't care all that much about Chinese. I just thought it'd be kind of interesting. Yeah. I mean, in high school I took all of the languages that were offered, which was Spanish and French. That was it. Nothing else was offered in my high school. I took everything there. So pretty much I did the same thing when I came to college. It was like, yeah, I'm just taking everything. Spanish and Chinese and... God, the Spanish. I think that made my Spanish worse. But yeah, so my program was run by, for the most part, and it has changed since then, and People have told me, well, it's different now. For the most part, it was run by people who graduated from MIT, and they were, I don't know, they were taught under Noam Chomsky, so they're nativists very devoutly. Like, son of a bitch, it's a religion. Also, Turkana Boy's head cracked open. Good times. Yeah, shit's a religion. Um, so I was being fed all of this nativist stuff, but I had just seen enough languages on my own. Good job. I've seen enough languages on my own. I played around with them enough and seen like, okay, well, this set of words is it's it's not really in this language family, but it's like kind of halfway in this language family and halfway in this language family. It's just a set of maybe 20, 30 words that are clearly shared between, things like that. So like I kind of knew things that made the narrative I was being told obviously not nonsense. Um, Also, I was studying. I'd taken a full year of all of them by the time I took the intro to syntax course. And of course, this syntax course, it's like X bar, right? So it's like, yeah, like government and binding X bar, like 1980s retrofitted X bar, taught by the guy who wrote the frickin' book. So, and and the Adam is what do they call it? Non-configurational. Non-configurational. Basically, what this means is Adam is one of the languages where XBAR doesn't work. So nativists, Chomskyans, and other nativists and some other formalist groups. It's complicated. They all kind of influence each other, and nobody's brave enough to be like, "No, you're fucking wrong." So, so they kind of just keep tolerating stupid shit. Oh my god! I feel like my brain is gonna just collapse into a black hole because so much is wrong. There's got to be enough. There's got to be like a critical mass there where just fuck. Yeah. Where was I? Yeah, yeah. So what they do is they're like, oh well, XBAR doesn't work here, so it's non-configurational. They just made up this category that like a whole shit ton of languages fall into, and they only fall into because they don't work by XBAR. Um, that's a stupid category, and it's not a category. It's evidence that you're wrong. Sorry. Oh my god. And that's one of the reasons that I call this a religion, because you cannot convince them that they're wrong, even when they're the ones providing the evidence and basically making the entire argument themselves. All you have to do is kind of come along and be like, but that thing that you said, that paradox that you have, that means you're wrong. Paradoxes don't exist when you're not wrong. Paradoxes only exist when you're wrong. Stupid categories that are just like garbage bin categories where like, oh, I don't, it doesn't fit here, so it goes in this. That means you're wrong. You made this entire argument. All I did was come along and say, I don't think you understand what you just did here. Because this means you're wrong. This means you're really, really wrong. Oh my god. yeah. So I developed some of my own ideas about linguistics, and this former friend who called the FBI on me, he was kind of there along for the ride more or less the whole time. Uh, and he probably still, I don't know. He kind of had this big idea all along that, oh my God, it's because you're saying something different, you're gonna become famous. No, I don't think so, because the things I'm saying, some of it is just so different that it doesn't matter if it's right. No, like, it's not gonna gain popularity. Also, it's probably not right, because what are the chances of that? Like, yeah, I'm seeing problems in what they're saying, but that doesn't make me right. There's gonna be problems in the stuff that I'm saying too. So just because I'm saying something different, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna win. That's, that's not how it works. If that's how it works, science would be done long ass time ago, right? Because somebody was wrong and somebody else came along and said something different. Yeah, that doesn't mean they're right either. It doesn't even mean that they're less wrong. And if it gains popularity, that really doesn't make it more right either, because that's a logical fallacy. Just argumentum ad populum. Um, just because a whole bunch of people believe it doesn't make it true. And yeah, I have some criticisms of science as well. It's extremely useful. That's about as much as I can compliment it. Science is extremely useful, and absolutely. I feel like it's more useful than like Catholicism or Judaism, or but it does behave in a lot of ways like a religion, and that's probably going to be an unpopular view. That's going to get people not liking me. But yeah, no, I can back that. I can back that shit up. I've worked in science. Well, yeah, yeah. So like after college, I did some work. I did a lot of teaching English, teaching ESL kind of stuff. Free, like me independently, kind of running my own business on that. I still have a student. I think we've been working together something like 7 or 8 years at this point. It's a good dude. It's a good dude. In Russia, in Moscow. I do not live in Moscow. I've never been to Moscow. I've never been to Russia. I've never been to Europe. I've never been over there. Uh, so yeah, we use Skype. We've kind of always used Skype, kind of from the early days when it didn't work very well. Yeah, that cost me some students because it just shitty, shitty call quality. But another thing, like because of the shitty call quality, kind of early on, one of the other things that would happen is I would get college students a lot as potential clients, and one of the things that a lot of them would be doing because they would be studying some branch of science or something, they would they would have papers. A lot of times, papers that they were going to publish articles, scientific articles that they were going to try to get published, and they would have me. I would charge them to proofread them, basically to edit them. Very fair price, and oh my god, that's a terrible way to make money. It sucks, but it does mean that I was privy to a lot of research that was happening at the time. I don't think anybody actually appreciates about me. Like even people who know that I was kind of doing that, I don't think they fully appreciate like what I was doing there. That I was seeing this like bleeding edge science from PhD students all around the world. I had people in Russia, in China, Japan, Korea, South Korea. I don't know if North Korea had Skype. Doubt it. Um, you know, some in Mexico and Brazil, like all over the damn place. Some guys from Africa, you know, I was seeing stuff in hydrology and astrophysics and like just all kinds of shit. And I had to be able to basically understand it in order to say yes, this sentence makes sense, or no, this sentence does not make sense, and this is what you need to do to change it. So yeah, yeah, no, like I worked in science in a sense, preparing papers for peer review. I also was on a few a few teams. This is after I graduated, and I just kind of just because I'm very interested in how things work, and I kind of developed some of my own ideas and kind of come back to some of my old professors or their colleagues with some of my ideas, and sometimes it didn't work very well. We butted heads, and yeah, that wasn't always pretty, But it did give me an opportunity a few times to be on board with some projects that were going on. Involved in writing some grants and getting denied for, for projects and things like that. So I do have more than just an your average person. I do have probably a deeper knowledge of what science is, how the industry works, particularly like in an academic setting, and like university science, like how that shit works. I probably know how it works better than you do. Unless you're like Ed Copeland or something. Like you know, if you're just an ordinary person, it's a bad idea to get into a fight with me, get into an argument with me, and be like, "Yeah, this is how science works, bitch." I know, I know better than you do how that works. Probably, and that happens a lot because I do have some unconventional opinions, certainly unpopular opinions about science, and I'm not afraid to voice them. So people are like, "Yeah, that's not how science works. That's not what science is." Except that it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. So these things have kind of made me unpopular. Anyway, what what else? What else is there about me? I don't know. Um, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe making some videos about some of my ideas, some of the things that I've noticed. Some of them I'm pretty goddamn sure are true, are real, because they're based on measurement. That's actually one of my criticisms of science, is because I came in some very, very, like I spent time honing my views and my arguments and based it on a lot of data, a lot of measurements, and you're like, no, that's we have a framework. But I have data. Okay. Like I was literally like one of the oh my god, one of the people from the U of A. The reason that we stopped talking, and they blocked me. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering right. It doesn't really matter. I asked her was trying to leave gender out of it. And I asked them, um, what their data was for, like, what their evidence was for this thing they were saying, and the only response was, "There's a framework. You don't understand." And then I was blocked. Like, this was on, this was on Facebook, right? So I also got, Facebook isn't for this. I'm like, Facebook's for whatever you want it to be for. Like, if you want it to be for posting pictures of a duck face, then that's what it's for. If you want it for posting crappy recipes, then that's what it's for. If it's for posting pictures of your baby, that's what it's literally whatever you want it to be for. So anyway, that's probably enough of a basic introduction to who I am. Yeah.